Here we are. Just who we are. Here we are. Just who we are once again on this channel, on YouTube, and in other places where we speak about the truth and love and stand up. Yes, stand up to the sordid and the powerful and the architects of time who work many ways in our lifetimes. We say, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we on this channel? We are just trying to do our little bit to bring the truth to the people in the United States who seem to not really want to know the truth, to hear the truth, who don't seem to love the truth when they hear it anymore. This is a different society, you see. Many things are happening in our lives, and now many of them are so painful that we can barely hear them. There's so many burdens that are loaded up in our backs right now that we don't think we can take any more. But the truth is that we can take more. We can take a lot more. And not only can we take more, we can give more. Give more of our strength, our courage, our power, and our love to create the world that we really want to see. Instead of going along with what we want now. Even as I say this, I am thinking of politics. I'm actually thinking of getting into politics in the future, not running for anything. That would be crazy. For me, anyway. But helping support some parties, and I am thinking of supporting a third party. Because the two parties in the United States, the Democrats and the Republicans, have become so much alike that there's barely a difference. Nowadays, one is used as the bad cop. The Republicans are the bad cops. The Democrats are the good cop. And we keep electing the same people over and over again by choosing the ones that are not as harsh. And some of the more perverted people are constantly choosing the ones that are harsh because they have learned to hate instead of love. They have learned to turn against people like themselves or less fortunate than they are instead of standing up with them and supporting them. They've learned that they're superior and that their worth depends on them outperforming other groups of people to the point where they are willing to sabotage other people, to destroy their lives in order to maintain the false idea that they are in some way superior. And this can be seen right now as we watch the way that our country interacts with other countries. Instead of becoming better at making things better, at running factories, more creative, the United States is choosing now to try to conquer China by destroying their economy, by blocking off the essentials they need in order to prosper, by trying to get other nations to stop buying their products, by trying to sabotage them any way that they can so they can't move ahead. So this is not a race. This is not us struggling. This is not us being superior to anyone. It's kneecapping other people so that they cannot prosper and live out their hopes and their dreams. And the funny thing is that as we begin to look at this foreign policy, and we see the same things being done in Venezuela, in Cuba, in China, in Russia. It was done to the Soviet Union, and we were taught that it was good because it was a Cold War. But when we look at the way we work within this nation, we can see that people of color, especially African Americans, have been treated the same way. They've been stifled, not given the good jobs or the jobs that could grow into something better, not given the houses or the housing opportunities that other people have been given so that they could build generational wealth. They have been stifled, forced to move in red line zones to rent apartments or housing so that the next generations would not be better off or worse off. They've been kneecapped, as Latin American immigrants have been kneecapped also, because they were willing to work hard. And they were willing to prove that one group was not better than the other, you see, but they wanted to show that all people were great, all people were equal, all people could flourish when given the chance. And as a result of these people coming into the United States and working hard, we could see that the nation was flourishing all the way up through the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s until there came a backlash. The general population did not want black people to prosper after the civil rights laws were passed and immigration was reformed so that people who weren't coming from European countries could come in. They didn't want people who were non-white to share in the fruits of the United States, so they were willing to burn down the whole country in order to stop that from happening. And that is where we find ourselves today. We find ourselves living in the backlash, and we find our political parties, instead of stopping it, instead of moving beyond it, instead of helping us to move beyond it, we find them supporting it. Not only supporting it, but enhancing it through their thoughts, through their behaviors, through their appointments of various judges all over the nation. We find that the idea of justice has become a mockery. It has become something that is meaningless, and it has become just us instead of justice. And this mockery now can be seen all over the world and all over social media. Instead of seeing it and changing it, the establishment wants to shut down the voices of social media, to not let us see it, to make us blind, to give us false news, to create and recreate a false system so that we live in what the Buddhists would call a state of delusion. You see, they talk about the three poisons. One is greed, and we see that all over the place in the United States now. Anger, because of the frustration, the reaction to the abuse that all the poor people, people of color, immigrants, indigenous people are receiving now. A righteous anger, but an anger yet. And delusion. The delusion that these things are just happening and nobody's causing them. The delusion that we are going all over the world, spreading democracy, and even the delusion that a democracy has ever existed in this country. In this country where the only time everyone was able to vote was after the Voters' Rights Act in the 60s until the 90s, when people found ways to stop people from voting. And even during that time, if one was a felon, one was never able to vote afterwards, even after serving their prison sentence. And so the country began to arrest mainly African American people in order to make sure that they would never be able to vote, and to make sure that they could be enslaved again within the prison system, as was allowed by the 13th Amendment. We go on forward, recognizing this and saying this. We have a third party running, the Green Party now. We have Joe Stein running in the Green Party, talking about addressing these issues, talking about raising the minimum wage to a living wage, talking about dealing with the war budget, that is almost $1 trillion a year right now, shifting some of that money to things like health care, child care, all of the things that we need in this country. But she's having a hard time because the parties are against this. The good cop, bad cop technique they're using won't work if there's a third party. And the good cop, the Democrats, are the ones who are fighting against a real progressive person getting in because it would ruin their chances to continue to get millions and millions and millions of dollars in contributions from the ultra rich. That is where we find ourselves. The question is, what are we willing to do about it? Are you willing to take the chance? Are you willing to vote for a third party knowing that almost 40% of the country says they want something new? 40% of the registered voters, that is. And the others, the ones who aren't going to the polls, they don't vote because they're discouraged. There's no alternative. No one knows about the third party. No one knows about Joel Stein and the third party being an anti-war party, with the vice president being an African-American Muslim activist. No one knows about this because the news has blacked them out, kept them silent. The Democrats have launched lawyers, tons of lawyers, in order to try to keep them off of the ballots by suing them, by breaking them, by taking their money away. Nobody knows about this. But now, everyone listening to this video knows about it, and anyone can find out about it by going to YouTube, looking at Jill Stein and listening to her. The question is this: do you want to go to the bad cop and get super nationalist Christian fascism right now? Do you want to take the slow path and get secular fascism right now, with it getting worse and worse in the future? Or do you want to get a person who is progressive and who is aligned with the writings and teachings of most religions, and the writings and teachings found in the Declaration of Independence, the Gettysburg Address, and all of those founding documents which the people of this country are more proud of? It's up to us to choose. Especially we are receiving the prophecy of the prophet Jonah when he went to Nineveh, and his whole prophecy was change or die. We are in that place now. It's time for us to change or die. And the change is creating a viable third party. So let's do that together. Even as we do that, however, we must take care of ourselves by strengthening what is on the inside, being courageous, loving ourselves, and walking in love, and helping to build community. You can learn how to do that at our website at nextstepcoaching.mysite.com. That is nextstepcoaching.mysite.com. Partake of some of our services and learn the truth that will set you free. And when you are free, my friends, all of us will be. Namaste, folks.